What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. Today we're going to continue our dive into taking a look at the developers balancing patch that they're planning on releasing tonight. I really, like I told you guys earlier from the previous one where I explored all of them, I'm not really so sure how these patches are going to work out. To be honest with you, some of them look like they're really not that good, but I really want to examine Doctor Strange's specifically and address some things that I hope that the devs get to see. I hope you guys share it on Reddit. I hope you guys share it on the Marvel Future Media websites, but let's specifically talk about Doctor Strange. Mostly because I can't really speak from a how you would say it, like I like to call it, you can be educated about something, but to be a subject matter expert about them, I feel like you have to, play that character quite a bit. And I don't play a lot of these characters as deeply as I play Doctor Strange. So for me to give you a expertise on it it would just be not true. So let's take a look at some of the things for Doctor Strange. And I'm going to pull up the things so you can see this. I know some people hate when you just give readouts, but let's examine this. So they said Doctor Strange's power is going to be strengthened. And then they wanted to highlight that he was going to be able to destroy enemies' guards so he can show off his outstanding skills in battle. They wanted to make him a powerful character, but he was supposed to be developed to acquire the cooldown reduction stat, which was important. So that was the reason why they put him inside of that category of, his enhanced potentials had so much to do with cooldown decrease, unlike any of the other characters. I pointed this out by comparing him to Marvel Future Fight, where you can see the character pretty much has the same mechanic inside of it. His skills kind of like roll together, where they're just constantly cycling off. You basically end up with a Doctor Strange who's able to cast all his abilities, and through those abilities, sometimes you'll hit a crit at certain times, and that will maximize the amount of damage. And from their notes, that appears the way that they were trying to do it with this character as well. Now, here goes the part where they kind of lose track compared to what you would really think. That his cooldown reduction was supposed to enhance through his potential and his specializations, but it didn't act as a factor that made us feel like he lacked attack power compared to other heroes at his level. So this is the part where I feel like they fell off the train and they weren't paying attention, and where I question whether or not they understand what it is the players are saying or how the character actually fits within the game. Because it's not that Doctor Strange lacks attack power, it's that Doctor Strange lacks speed and is interruptible in the course of his skills, and the fact that he doesn't have access to critical stats that other players do. I don't know how to be more clear about that than anything else, and not to be rude to the developers in saying that. The problem is his skills take too long to cast, and therefore they're easy to negate because you can dodge out of them, while they take a long ass animation time, and the fact that he doesn't have access to key stats that other characters have. So let's explore this a little bit more in depth by taking a look at their skills that they basically have here. So for instance, first up, never in the build did we imagine that Doctor Strange was supposed to be a guard breaker. And by adding guard break increases to his 7 Rings of Ragador skill, you're not really showing the character that he's going to be able to guard break characters. Specifically, when you look at Star Shackles, Chain Reaction, Ring of Repulsion are basically just going from lowest to low. That's not a real big increase. You're not going to break anybody's guard break with a low. that's just not happening. And then the one that's getting the really high one is Magic Explosion, where it's getting a guard break from low to medium. Well, nobody's using Magic Explosion. That's like a PvE specific skill, but it's not, you're not worried about, you know, guard breaking characters in PvE. Not really anyways. And you're sure as hell not giving up on a skill like Ring Repulsion in order to use Magic Explosion. I don't care whether you're doing a PvP Doctor Strange build or whether you're doing a PvE Doctor Strange build. You are not giving up Ring of Repulsion. It's one of his core bread and butter skills. So to have that sat at lowest really doesn't make a sense. So I'm going to drop this down from the window. You guys know where I'm reading from, but I want to be able to show you guys the skills in and of themselves. So this is his bread and butter skill. Like, I mean, almost realistically, I would say better than Gateway Summon and Gateway Launch. It's his bread and butter skill. It has the lowest and is going to be increased to a low. That's not a lot. This should have literally just been medium guard break if that's what your intent was. If you wanted to showcase him as being that, because there's not a better skill, in my opinion, there's not a better skill in Doctor Strange's kit than Ring Repulsion. It's just not. Whether you're playing PvE or PvP, you could argue that Gateway Summoning might have a better skill. I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because you're getting locked into Gateway Summoning on the animation effect alone. Next up, they literally go into like Eldritch Sword, right? So like, let's talk about the Eldritch Sword because they're literally buffing two of them. This is the only place where we notice that they actually annotate that the casting motion and speed improvements are going to be done to this specific skill. So we all know, again, bread and butter for Doctor Strange is Tau Mandalas. If you're not using Tau Mandalas, then I don't know what build you have for Doctor Strange. Specifically, I saw one comment inside the section, inside the video that I posted earlier, where they said bladed defense, because that one's another one that's basically getting a decreased damage received by 15% for 9.5 seconds. They were like, this was a skill that was meant to counter Captain America. I'm going to be perfectly honest with what I said inside that comment in response to that comment. If you're using bladed defense as a counter to Captain America, meaning that this is the only reason to have this skill, it would be as a counter to either Captain America or to Spider-Man, some character that needs to be that close to you. If you're using this over Tau Mandalas, something's not right. I'm going to be honest with you 100%. Something's not right. Bladed defense isn't necessarily a bad skill, but it's very situationally oriented and is not going to have more benefit than Tau Mandalas. So for instance, you can see right here, Tau Mandalas to the left is an attack skill, and it's literally a homing skill. So being able to hone in on a target with this skill is far better than being able to just put up some blades that surround you that you literally then have to get into range of a target to use. This is not that great of a skill compared to Tau Mandalas, which is not receiving any kind of update, right? So Vishanti's Sacred Sword is this skill right here. That's Antimatter Sword, excuse me. That's this skill right here, the Sacred Sword, right? This is a skill that I can tell you, I don't know when the hell I've ever seen this skill used. Outside of maybe PvP or something like that, I really don't know. I don't know. So improving the animation time and the motion on this one, sure, cool. We did the countdown on these skills before in videos, and yeah, it's a long ass skill animation, probably one of his longest, but I can't see this again eclipsing one of his bread and butter skills, Tau Mandalas. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I can't see that happening. Now, Tau Mandalas is one of those skills that, you know, it does what it needs to do. It has a quick, fast animation time on it, so no really reason to change that. Next up, they were changing the skill for Gateway Summoning Gate of Edge. So most players, I believe, especially depending on what you're playing, are probably realistically using Gateway Summoning, Gateway Launch, right? It's one of those skills that does a significant amount of damage and is pretty damn decent, right? So when we look at this overall, we can see that, you know, it's basically they're completely different skills, but they both require static targets, except that actually, no, I take that back. Gateway launch actually will track a target, meaning that if you're locked onto the target, you summon it and that target starts to move, you will move with that target. Gate of Edge, however, summons that ability in place and doesn't really go anywhere, so that enemy can literally escape that zone, which is the reason why I don't really see it used. But then you're going to say that in PvE, I mean, you're probably using it a little bit more, but is it going to be more beneficial than Gateway Launch? I don't think so. And so Gate of Edge is going to have a cooldown increase to it. So it's going to be a 50% increase to cooldown. So if you were to say 50% increase of what this is right here is 16.9 seconds. So let's say 7. So you're looking at probably about 8 seconds that's going to be added onto the skill, and thereby the damage is also going to increase by 50%. So let's say it's 990, 1,000. Let's say another 500. So it's about 1,500. Will that make the skill more viable to use? I really don't know, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to look at it and say that it's still probably not going to fit within the range of skills that I would jump at, but it could, because if you were to look at the required stamina costs compared to Gateway Launch, this might turn into a good PvE skill, but maybe not necessarily a PvP skill. That's just my thought about it. I don't have a way to bind a target in space so that way I can set them up inside these discs. That's just the truth of the matter, right? So then here was the part where we really get into the nuts and bolts of like, what the fuck over, right? And that's when we get into what they're planning on change for his specialization and what they're planning on changing for his potential. So the thing that they're going to change is time manipulation force field. That's this skill right here. So time manipulation force field, I got that skill to 10 out of 10. I use it on an illusion magic class build where you basically, for having any illusion magic class skill, like any, didn't even make a difference, you decrease the remaining cooldown of all skills by 25% when you use an illusion magic class skill. Now that's really, really good. You can see I stopped using that skill, and I'm kind of sad now that I am, because that I got it to 10 out of 10, because they're changing that skill where they're going to add an 8-second cooldown to that specialization, right? So that basically means that inside your kit of skills, so like if I go to my character here, you can see like some of the skills I have, right? So I'm using a touch of Ashanti for soul enhance here to increase my defense pierce. Then you can see a mystic arts, right? And you can see mystic arts and mystic arts. I'm not using that specialization at all because his most powerful available skills to me are all within his mystic arts tree. Well, then if you go to my second skill though, I believe this one, I'm using illusion magic class. So I use the portal bolt summoning, right? Now Gates of Edge is still a mystic arts kill, right? That's what it is, right? Even if I went over here like astral projection, that's a touch of Ashanti skill. We go inside the book of Ashanti, and so and inside here Ashanti assault, still a freaking, you know, illusion magic class. Looking at the two skills that they plan on changing inside here for bladed defense, that's a touch of Ashanti class skill. We look at the Ashanti sacred sword, that's another mystic arts class skill. The truth of the matter is that most of the illusion magic class skills in the game, they're really just not that highly worth using in terms of like what you're going to actually implement it, whether it's PvE or PvP. Circular Shackles is a really good one, right? So maybe when we start seeing how Circular Shackles would have some ability inside here, but notice they didn't give any boost to Circular Shackles. It's still gonna remain the same. Like the Crimson, we're not getting anything from there, so it's still gonna remain the same in that regard. So I don't really know that this is going to help us be able to use any more illusion magic class skills. Now I'm looking forward to at some point getting back to using Circular Shackles and those skills, because I actually really like those over using this. But my defense pierce, this is the problem. I don't have access to this ability in order to do this, and this gets into the final part of this video where I literally want to talk about the enhanced potential. So for some reason or another on Sorcerer Supreme 4, they're choosing to remove status effect accuracy here at spell enhancement 2. Perfectly fine. That is going to be replaced with critical damage for 16.58%. That's actually good, right? But the problem is that they're going to remove Focus 3 cooldown decrease at 4.14%, and this is going to become critical rate for 5.53% at your max. Why are we not changing? Leave the cooldown decrease. You just said that that was supposed to be the nuts and bolts of the character, is his access to cooldown reduction. So now you're taking away one of the abilities from his cooldown reduction. He has another place inside here. Spell enhancement number 1 has status effect accuracy. We don't need status effect accuracy. Doctor Strange has so few status effect accuracy skills. And I think King was one of the people who pointed out to me, like, there's very few characters that rely on status effect accuracy, because the time that you build up your skills to the time you could get your kills literally negates you having status effect accuracy. You don't need it. So like having that inside of here is literally something that we don't need. Why are they changing focus 3 for the cooldown decrease instead of changing spell enhancement 1 and spell enhancement 2? I literally said this before. Remove his status effect accuracy. Just remove the 2 status effect accuracies. Those could become crit rate and crit damage. Why are you removing a cooldown skill? Why are you removing a cooldown skill when you just said in the notes that he was developed to acquire cooldown reduction? Literally, I'm going to put this up so you can see it. It says right here, each skill has a rather long cooldown. For that reason, he was developed to acquire cooldown reduction stats through enhancing potential and specialization. So why are you removing cooldown reduction? I'm hoping that this was a typo or some kind of mistake. To see this remove the cooldown decrease, I just literally just cannot imagine. It literally speaks to what the... So yeah, so now let's talk about why this balance patch is going to be pretty shit, especially in terms of a character like Doctor Strange. The balance patch all but ignores the thing that balances the characters in the long run, and that is access to costumes and things like that. So for instance, if I was to go inside the Omega cards, right, and I looked at my own cards, so before I got to 4, let's go to 3. The stats that we have here that have access to, we have stats that other characters don't have access to. His ultimate gauge is trash. So having access to Doctor Strange's ultimate gauge recovery makes no sense. Meanwhile, other characters have access to more critical skills like defense pierce, crit rate, crit damage, total damage. Those are skills that we need access to. If you're not going to change the Omega cards, we're still going to be set back from those characters because we don't have access to these skills. We just don't. It just doesn't make sense. Out of all Doctor Strange skills, you would want to build Doctor Strange for PvP because you're looking at PvP damage increase, PvP damage decrease. But he doesn't have access to skills that matter in PvE, and he's not a PvP character. Doctor Strange would probably never be a PvP character, but he's not having access to those things in order to make the kit viable. Remove the ultimate gauge recovery so that way we have access to something else like total damage or crit damage or crit chance, crit rate. Doesn't even necessarily need to be defense pierce if that's what you're trying to lock Doctor Strange out from, but he should have access to those. Even worse is when we look at the uniforms for the character inside the collections. All of his uniforms basically have either attack HP or attack defense. Defense means nothing in this game, literally nothing. And the HP value means nothing in the game at all, because raising a character like Captain America proves how unuseful HP and defense are inside this game, because the character seemingly just relies on that stat 100%, but not having access like other characters do to defense pierce, crit rate, crit chance, and so forth on their skills makes that unfeasible. It's even worse when you look at like the special costumes that this character has. Whereas if I was to go inside his 3 special costumes for Steampunk, I get 7 Rings of Ragador and Mystic Arts class skill level. So this is a pretty damn good uniform overall. That would be Doctor Strange's best skill for you to have, because having a defense or HP makes no sense. So Steampunk Doctor Strange would probably be your best bet, right? But then when we look at like Rise of the East, Mirror Dimension skills, Illusion Magic class skills, those skills are just not powerful enough to make them viable for Doctor Strange to use. Then we get over here to Eyes of Osiris, Eye of Agamotto skill. Guys, show me one Eye moto skill that I use. Touch of Ashanti class skill. These are not skill achievements. The one uniform outside of the special costumes that you would actually look at is perhaps the Savage Shadowland uniform, where you have access to defense pierce and supervillain damage decrease, and then the Mystic Arts class skill level. This would probably overall be the best uniform outside of Hydra Empire for Doctor Strange, but we're literally looking, why is it that I have to go to a special region costume that cannot be acquired in any shape, form, or way outside of me pulling on it, that I then have to go for these because I'm looking at all his region costumes as always attack HP, attack defense, attack HP. Why do we have a defense stat as a skill when other characters have access to crit, other characters have access to defense pierce? That's what we need. These patch notes overall, the only benefit from these patch notes that really came is to point out to you was literally Spider-Man's skill, right, which was Spider-Man and Captain Marvel, which was their use of like Scorpion's Pursuit, their use of their mechanics that would basically regenerate their dodge mechanics at a faster rate. Now those have 10-second cooldowns. I hope to God that those enough so that way it's not abusing, but for some reason or another, I'm imagining that is not going to be enough. Like legitimately, I do not feel 10-second cooldowns on those skills are going to be enough for them to stop. You're then probably looking at a 1 to 2 second breakdown maybe in between when you can attack a character now from them just being able to have uptime on that skill 100%. Yeah, I'm not sure what I think about these. I'm dying to see what comes tomorrow, but I'm hoping to God there's more to it than this. This is not enough. This is not a balance patch. This is tone deaf. That's what this is. So it is what it is, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, guys, peace.